Yeah, welcome today for being on Tennis Volley Talk with Brian Danielson. Hey, today what I'm going to be doing is an over the phone interview with actually a somebody that kind of had a journey to get to Minnesota, and his name is Harsh Mankad. Now, he is actually from India, and he had athletes for relatives that kind of got him into tennis when he was young, and he kind of kept it up and ended up coming here to the University of Minnesota on a tennis scholarship. Won the NCAA double Division One national singles champion, number one ranked singles player in the U.S. college tennis uh, for the University of Minnesota, inducted into actually the University of Minnesota Hall of Fame in a sense in 2024, recognizing his legacy and influence in the sport of tennis, and also ended up being on the ATP tour and played several star pros like Andy Roddick and Andy Murray and the likes of that. Ended up then going into teaching and actually played when he was a junior. Ended up playing for the India Davis Cup with the likes of VJ Amritraj, which is now on the Tennis Channel, which is really an accomplishment in itself. So he's had such an accolade in his career, and also teaching, coaching tennis and teaching young kids how to hit the ball, and coaches the like to be able to teach what he's showing and go out there and show people how to play tennis. But with that, Harsh, I thank you very much for joining me on my tennis podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, very, very nice having you here. So now, growing up as a young child there in India, uh, were you from the very start kind of like they wanted you to get into tennis, or was it kind of something that you kind of went, oh, okay, I'll try it, and then the bug got you, and then you just kind of went from there?
Yeah, both my parents are international athletes. So my father's side is, my father played cricket for India. And so did my grandfather on my father's side. Both are test cricketers for India. So cricket was a big part of my life. As a child, I was playing cricket with my friends and enjoying it a lot. And on my mother's side, my mother was India's number one tennis player. My mother's father was a Davis Cup player for India. So very strong tennis on my mother's side. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And that got me introduced to tennis through my mother. She was coaching after her professional playing career.
Okay.
So I, had these two sports, but I just loved playing sports. I was playing soccer. I was, playing different sports. And just over the years, it turned out that my journey, got more focused in tennis. And I took up to tennis and started competing, first in our state and then nationally in the under 10, under 12. And I started doing well. I won the under 14 national title. And at that point, being the country's number one junior, I had to sort of focus in on tennis, and I saw a clear path forward in tennis. And that's when tennis became, a strong priority and focus.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and being that with the strong the getting the bug with tennis and kind of growing. Now back there in playing, were there a lot of opportunity to have the playing time on courts back then, or were there just not as many courts? But she probably being a national player at the time kind of belonged to a club at a time you had the court availability to play on back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I was fortunate. I had a lot of opportunity with my parents being athletes, and we did belong to a club in Mumbai, is where I grew up. So it's the Cricket Club of India, CCI club, where my mother used to go and play tennis in the evenings. And as a young kid, I would go with her and I'd play some tennis there at the club and play some doubles with the members.
Oh, sure.
And so from a young age, I, started understanding about doubles and the strategy and placement.
Oh.
But fortunately for me, right next to my school, right across the street, was the tennis facility run by the state, and they had 5 tennis courts and coaching programs.
Oh.
So for me, literally, as soon as I finished school, I'd cross the street and go over there and then practice for a couple of hours. So in that sense, it was very convenient and worked out really well for me to get a lot of practice time in and have the facilities very close by to my school.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And remembering that kind of reminds me too. I kind of was in the same way that, the guys, the older guys kind of took the younger guys under the wing and started hitting with them. And then you just kind of get the bug from there. And with me, I kind of grew up on the high school courts and white cement courts with yellow painted lines and the chain link fences is how I grew up though too. So that was an experience in itself to learn on the fast surface of white cement. So that's kind of how I grew up with the old guys kind of taking me under their wing. Learned real quick that I thought I was as good as those old guys, but they taught me a few things too.
Right, yeah. And then, there are many ways to start, but I'd say that for me, I was fortunate to have my mother and grandfather who was also coaching tennis after his playing career and was one of the senior coaches in the country. And they taught me the fundamentals really well. So that I attribute a lot of my growth in tennis as I played higher and higher levels. I attribute that to the fundamentals that I developed under their coaching, learning the swings, doing a lot of drills. We used to drill a lot. Every day we'd go out to the courts and for hours we'd be doing different drills, working on our strokes, developing our game. And that was the big focus. And I think those formative years were very important in solidifying the game and preparing me for higher levels.
Oh, sure. And absolutely. And then with me, I mean, like I kind of started growing, and I'm a little bit older than you are, 69, but I don't feel it sometimes, but then sometimes I do after a long match. But anyway, so anyway, that's kind of how I kind of started out a little later in life, like at 13, 14, but not at like 6, 7, and 8. So I just didn't really develop the pure hand-eye coordination that kids kind of grew up knowing at that time, and then finally getting that pure stroke and knowing the hand-eye coordination, where that ball is going to go. But I've made a game for myself, which has been good for me over the years too. But with that, it's just once you get that, you just can't get rid of that tennis bug, and you just keep going with it. And then good that you started at the young age that you did in order to have the proper techniques and the drills that you went through, and it just kind of ingrained so much more in the ground strokes and learning, and then getting better and better and better as you got older too.
Right. Yeah, I emphasize now that we run programs in the Twin Cities, and I emphasize to players and parents the importance of having a strong foundation, working on their strokes, because oftentimes I see that as a gap. Sometimes children start here in school, they start in school tennis, and they're competing fairly quickly in their journey. They may have played some tennis, they may have had some structured instruction, but they pick up the sport and competition comes very quickly. And in my upbringing, it was more about development and stroke play development, game development. And then gradually we were introduced to competition. But my mother used to always emphasize, being selective about the tournaments and a lot of emphasis on preparation and game development. So that's the message that I share with a lot of our players here and parents who are eager to play at higher levels, is to focus on the game development and work on their games, get the stroke play in place, work on the technique, and then once they're more ready to go into competition, and at that point you can aspire for higher levels.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With learning the more of the strategy behind it and all of that realm behind that, and then you came then, and did you go to like a junior college, or did you go from when you graduated high school or whatever back then? Did you then go right into and said, hey, and then you chose, or you looked at a few universities here in the US, and then you chose Minnesota to come to, which does at the time when you came had a very good tennis program, men's and women's. Since men's have gone now, but they still have a pretty good women's program there too.
Right. Yeah, so my dream, was to be a professional tennis player. And as I was amongst the best in India, I was had set my sights on playing professional tennis. And then after junior tennis in India, it's a tough pathway to professional tennis because, as you know, the game is very expensive at the professional level. It's global travel. One has to put together the team. It takes a lot of resources, and that was a difficult pathway from India. And so, college tennis was a great avenue and next step. My brother, who's about 7 years older to me, was also amongst the top players in his time, and then he came to the US to college tennis. And it was his generation that were the first ones to come to the US on tennis scholarships. So we learned about US college tennis through them. And once I started learning more, I realized that this was a great pathway to come to the US to play high-level tennis, to also get an education, and sort of test myself against the best players in the world. Get a couple more years under my belt, and then see if professional tennis would open up. And that's exactly what happened. I chose Minnesota. I had a good relationship with the head coach, David Getz, who was a former player. He had played D1 tennis. He had been coaching for a while. Had a very strong team. The Minnesota team was top 30 in the country. Assistant coach Adam Cohen, who's now the associate head coach at Ohio State. He was a Minnesota player, so he had played Division I college tennis. Both coaches were well experienced, and I just had a good relationship with them, and decided to come to Minnesota, which worked out really well for me. I played number one singles on the team, so I was getting to play the best players from across the country. We were traveling all over the country. A very strong tennis schedule, very strong training, and all aspects were taken care of. So it really helped me to improve, get to a higher level, and then make the breakthrough with playing professionally.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the best way of having that kind of the team. Now, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, like some of the pros out there, they went the college route too. Which they thrive on, and it kind of got them used to with the team atmosphere and the team rooting them on, and the noise and the distractions, or could be like the US Open with the planes flying over. Kind of gave you that toughness to have the concentration with not kind of tuning out everything, but yet you're still in that team atmosphere and having the noise, but you were able to be tough and tough that out, being in that team. Like Danielle Collins went to the college route, and she loved it, and she thrived on it, and that's kind of where it got her fiery personality in a way with that, and just a way to do, and myself, I actually interviewed Cullen Robertson, an Australian tennis player that went the college route from Sydney, went to Oklahoma City and was on a tennis scholarship in Oklahoma City, lived there for 43 years and wrote a book on Oklahoma tennis. So that was just amazing in itself, though, too, to be able to then come from Sydney to Oklahoma to then stay there and still be able to have those tennis skills and be kind of the upper echelon of tennis, and was on the tour for a while and was able to accomplish so many things. And even later on in life was in exhibitions when the pros came in their exhibitions around Oklahoma at the time, like Newcomb and Rosewall and Roach. And then he was the celebrity doubles person that played with them. And that was an amazing thing in itself, to be able to keep continuing and enriching himself within tennis at the time too.
Yeah, and college tennis, those years were some of the most fun years of my tennis career. To be with a team, to travel with them, and have the support of a team was a special feeling. I really enjoyed it. Tennis is an individual sport. Oftentimes, junior tennis, professional tennis too. You're out there on your own, and it's and college tennis is unique in that sense, in terms of the team environment that is created. And I really thrived on it. I think I played some of my best tennis in college. And I attribute that to the support system that I had around me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to your point, I came to Minnesota. I played on the tour for 10 years, and then came back to Minnesota to finish school and got married, and now live here and are running programs here, growing the sport in our Twin City community,
Sure.
Getting a lot of children involved,
Mm-hmm.
Developing them positively in the game. So, and that's the beauty of tennis. It's a global sport.
Mm-hmm.
People move from one part of the world to the other. They're growing the game, having an impact, and it creates that kind of that interaction and that cultural exchange, which is very unique about tennis as well.
Oh, absolutely. That is such a unique thing, because you have such a variety of people that you can have the opportunity to play against and with, in doubles, and meshing well with whoever you're playing with, or trying to, or just playing individual and playing singles. And the best thing for what I have been doing lately is going to a little local tennis courts in Roseville, a little park that has 2 courts. But then there's a group of guys that get together every day about 6 o'clock, and then they play until 10 o'clock at night, playing games and doubles and points, and just getting and grooving their game. And it's a bunch of guys that you could even camaraderie with and everything too, which has been really fun for me whenever I discovered it last year, which has been really a fun thing to do with those guys.
Yeah, it's a lifelong game, and it keeps giving, in terms of one's health and the opportunity to play and be active, and all that you gain from the sport. The amount you learn from the sport, it challenges you in every dimension, physically, emotionally, mentally. There's a social component. There's an opportunity to meet people, to make friendships, to connect with people. No matter where you are in the world, you can find a tennis court, you can meet somebody and play tennis. You can make friends. So this is the big picture. These are all the benefits, and we emphasize this with our young players, and give them the perspective that this is a lifelong sport, and there's so much to it. Because sometimes we can get caught up in the short term, right? The short term goals, and a lot of times for high school players, it's varsity tennis, and that's front and center.
Yeah,
which is understandable. But to just help them to understand the big picture, that tennis is not over just once you are past 12th grade. There's so much more.
Oh, sure.
You can play in college. You can play for a college team. You can play recreational tennis in college, and it's a great way to make friends and to have a community. And then as you go into the professional world, so many ways to connect with people and enjoy a game of tennis.
Oh, absolutely.
So many opportunities, and I think it's a lifelong gift that parents are giving to their children by introducing them to tennis.
Oh, absolutely. And then the more of the well, of course, you and I kind of grew up in a little bit more of the social part of era of tennis, that you go to the court, there's people there. Oh, come on now, let's get in some hitting. Okay, come on, let's go. And stuff like that, where sometimes now the younger kids, they're kind of more so technical with the phones and the computers, that it's kind of hard to. I mean, myself, I go out there to the tennis court where I remember back when I was playing, you couldn't find an open court if you were over, say, at Coon Rapids or Blaine or whatever. With those courts were full all the time. But now you go out there and it's like, okay, I'll hit against the wall and until nobody comes, and then I'll go, because nobody came. It was just desolate. People used to get out, and even players, they should still get out and play, but they just don't seem to want to get out on a nice day and play and hit the ball. Me, I still have that old blood in me, and I still get out and hit the wall and at least get some hitting in. That's what I look for.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What happened in the U.S. There seems to be somewhat of a change in interest. It sounds like in the 60s, 70s, it was very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Tennis was. And now it seems from mainstream, there are more sports, there are more options. And I think tennis has sort of gone more in the periphery,
mm-hmm.
particularly in the Midwest and areas of the country. It's different I would imagine it's different in New York, Florida, California. Mm-hmm. But I would say in this part of the country, a lot more work needs to be done to grow tennis again.
Mm-hmm.
To do the kind of work we are doing, to go into the communities, deliver programs,
mm-hmm.
make tennis accessible, bring children into the sport,
mm-hmm.
Bring adults into the sport, have them trying the sport, playing the sport. And my experience is that when the youth, they try the sport,
mm-hmm.
Oftentimes they really enjoy it,
mm-hmm.
and then they're playing, and they're coming back for more tennis,
mm-hmm.
and bringing their friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just have to find ways to deliver the sport, make it more accessible, and get more people playing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then that's when the sport is going to grow.
Oh, that is correct. And with me, I mean, I've been playing tennis for like over 50 years, but yet in my later years here, and even though I still play with the young bucks out there, I still play singles, still get out and try to play singles, which is always still fun. Try to push myself as much as I can. But it's nice that where I've come now to kind of an example of like a month and a half ago, I local court, like one court at a park near me, and I was up there and saw a couple of young kids hitting the ball, right? And they were consistent. The one guy was consistent, but they were just holding the racket wrong. And I was watching, and then I kind of said, oh, well, so I went up to them, and they were receptive to me coming out and saying, okay, well, why don't you just hold the racket here? And I started hitting with the one guy. And it was kind of came that he was consistent. And then I started hitting the short game with him. I said, come, from the service line to the net. And I started hitting the short, soft game with him. He was consistent enough to get it back. His friend came out, and I showed his friend how to hit the ball, hit the short game with him, and he was consistent with it. But with the two of them, I was then getting them to look at playing a short game at first to get your consistency and make a game of it from the service line, and make the little game of it and play to 10 points and stuff. So they were starting to hit the ball a lot better with that short game when I left, which was good. Then about a month later, the one guy goes, hey, you're the guy that showed us how to hit the ball. Which is, and I go, yeah. And he goes, we've been hitting that short game, and it's really helped. And I said, and as you've moved back, you're not now going out there and just going to the baseline and hitting two shots and you shank it. He goes, yeah, you're right, because it's made us more consistent, and we can get the ball over the net now better. And I said, well, that's what I was there. And I'm glad I showed you how to do that. It just made me feel so good to be able to hear that from him. It was like, put a smile on my face, and everything. But that was such a wonderful feeling to hear that feedback that way.
Right. Yeah. No. It's you making it progressively more challenging, and starting with the basics, developing those skills, and then building from there. That's how we teach as well, and it is a lot of fun, very satisfying. When participants, at the end of the session, express their gratitude, and the parents are happy. And,
oh yeah.
Everyone's had a good experience. They feel like they had fun. They learned, and they're developing in the sport. I think that's a great feeling.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And then going from then college, and then going on to the ATP tour for 10 years, and then also being able to play on India Davis Cup, which must have been so exponentially unbelievable to take that knowledge and seeing those pros and the way they hit the ball. And then, of course, being able to play in your era was Prakash Amritraj, playing with him and being on the circuit with him and playing, and then having the opportunity to play Andy Roddick, Andy Murray, and all those players out there. Myself, I kind of remember back in the day, because I'm actually from Oklahoma and Tulsa. They used to have a Bank of Oklahoma tournament that came through there, and VJ, his dad, was there, and he was playing at the time in the early 80s. So I had the chance to see VJ hit the ball, which was really a treat and fun to watch too.
Yeah. Indian tennis has a strong history and tradition, and top players like Vijay Amritraj and the Krishnans. And so, we had a lot of inspiration growing up, and I think time on the professional tour was special. It's an amazing opportunity to travel the world, do something you have a lot of passion for. We're playing at the highest level, so it's a very competitive, very driven environment, and everyone there is focused and trying to be the best they can. But looking back, it's really was a special time. I learned so much from traveling all over the world, playing tournaments. It pushes you, to your max in every aspect.
It does.
And tennis is particularly tough because it's everything's on you. You don't have the support of a team. In our case, unfortunately at the time, India too is, player development system is quite underdeveloped. So the players are essentially on your own. You have to figure everything out,
Oh, sure.
Put your coaching team together, figure out the finances, go from tournament to tournament, find a place to train, all these things. And I'm very grateful for many people who helped me in that journey.
Oh, sure.
But it's but those are the things that I think we learn from. Tough experiences, make you stronger. And like I said, looking back, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was a great time in my life, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to play tennis on the professional tour and sort of go after my dreams.
Oh, absolutely. And then being able to travel like you did and everything, and just knowing that well, where are you going now? Well, my next 3 stops are going to be Asia, Wimbledon, or England, and then France. And oh, okay, gee whiz, okay, here I am a skipper of a baseball team, and I'm going to Cincinnati, New York, and Chicago. What's wrong with that picture?
Right. Yeah, it opens you up. Yeah, tennis has always been, has created a window to the world for me from a young age. The first time I traveled outside India, I was 13. I was representing India in the junior world championships. We went to Hong Kong, and then we went to Japan.
Oh, wow.
So from a young age, I had this opportunity to travel and develop a global perspective. It inspired me to dream big, to aim at a global scale. So these are all things that tennis is creating.
Oh, sure.
In a person's life, and it's just, and then it just sort of continued through the different stages, and on the professional tour as well, playing against the best players in the world. I remember playing Andy Roddick in Davis Cup. He had just come on the scene, and facing his serve on an indoor court. He was serving in the 140s. I'd never faced a serve that big before.
Oh, sure.
And you're on the court now. You're playing somebody, of that level, and you have to do your best and try to figure it out. Or if it was Leighton Hewitt, who I played in Australia. Leighton Hewitt was number 1 in the world.
Yes.
Australia and Davis Cup.
Oh, my gosh, what a player.
Facing the intensity of his tennis. And so all these things challenge you and sort of push you, and there's so much to learn from it. As I reflect back, I think there's a lot I can draw from in terms of sharing experiences. And,
absolutely.
And guidance with players now.
Even though even though I have the experience of 50 years of playing, but then I'm not like a certified coach or anything like that. But I know that I can show people how to hit the ball better. I know that, which makes me feel good when I can have the opportunity to do that also. With that, but also you YouTubers out there, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube channel, and then also you podcasters out there. I'm going to be doing Racket of the Week here pretty soon with Harsh, and he might learn a little bit of something about a racket that I have here, but. Just a fun thing to do. But if you want to take a look at the racket, take a look at it on my YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk. But with that, of course, like you were saying, tennis being that so more of a social part of it that we grew up in. Like last year, I went to the U.S. Open Fan Appreciation Week, which was an amazing experience for it. I even braved the subway and made it back too. So that was a fun thing to do for me too. And I ended up had my backpack with me, walked over, found a tennis court where I was in a hostel in Brooklyn, but made it to the U.S. Open. I interviewed at one time a historian gal for Westside Tennis Club, and I went to go see Westside Tennis Club. And she showed me the ground, showed me Bud Collins' library that his widow gave to Westside Tennis Club, saw an event, got lunch and everything. And that was all paid for by Westside, which was kind of my monetary part of that podcast for doing the New York part of it. And I'm going to be going back this year too, going back to the U.S. Open Fan Appreciation, which was still an amazing event anyway. Got into Arthur Ashe and saw right away Novak and Zverev, and then Madison Keys, Katie Boulter, then of course then Sabalenka, and I'm sitting like 5 rows right down from the side of the court, unbelievable. And then Stefanos Tsitsipas, and then I saw Rublev and Demir and Gael Monfils at the UTS Ultimate Tennis Showdown, the event that I got to see in Westside Tennis Club. So through my podcast, I've had the opportunity to be able to have some good tennis experiences too. Plus the years back in the Bank of Oklahoma, seeing Connors and all of those guys, and Eddie Dibbs, and the precursor actually to the Roddick hard serve back then was Roscoe Tanner was hitting 35, 38 mile an hour serves with the small rackets back then, and he was hitting them that hard.
Nice. Yeah, we may have crossed paths actually last year, because I was at the U.S. Open as well with my family.
Cool.
For the week before the tournament.
Yes.
It was a great experience, and to get in the facility and see the crowds and see all the top players practicing and playing was a fun experience.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to be probably staying one extra day there. I'll probably take that Monday that it starts. I'm going to probably take that Monday and go to a grounds pass and get into Louis Armstrong and then have the outside courts to be able to walk around and look at the play being played there, and then being able to go back into Louis Armstrong and watch the set matches that are being played that day, and then head back here then on Tuesday. So that'll be interesting and fun in itself though too. But grounds pass isn't all that much, so it's worth it to get into one stadium and then being able to have free access to the outer courts there to be able to watch the play too.
Yeah. The crowds were amazing. Just the sheer number of people coming out to the U.S. Open to watch the tennis. The atmosphere is electric.
Oh, it is.
Great tennis on all the courts. So it was just an amazing event.
Oh, yeah.
And great to see how popular tennis has become and how many people from not just the U.S., but all over the world come to watch the U.S. Open. Oh,
absolutely. To be able to and have that experience. I mean, that was my first time to be there. Yeah, but I just made it such an experience. I mean, even saw Grand Central Station at the, which was awesome in itself. It was just awe-inspiring to be able to see Grand Central Station and being on the subway and experiencing all that. But everybody was so nice. It was wonderful. And then plus I went up to the 4th floor and I saw the tennis court up on the 4th floor of the Vanderbilt tennis court. So that was really kind of fun to be able to see, oh, hey, I'm up on the 4th floor at Grand Central Station looking at the tennis court.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. It's just been so fun there, too. But yeah, like I was kind of saying here, with this, I have the racket of the week here, which actually happens to be an old Spalding racket, actually. It's called the Spalding Contender, which is probably one of their, kind of mid-range rackets, kind of like the Davis Tad Davis racket back then with the Imperial Deluxe was a little bit higher model and stuff like that. But still, it has a nice color to it. It's kind of a maroon color on half of the throat here. It has the kind of what they actually called it the string savers back in the day, which are the little tiny strings that have the smooth and the knots on it right below the main strings there. And those, relatively in the 50s, 60s that they had that part, and they were the back then the string savers for the strings on the rackets back then. Of course, then you had the way they were interwoven in there, you could spin it for knots or smooth for the spin of the serve too. But the racket itself has has the white throat on it, and then it has the maroon color on it. It has the S for the Spalding. It's a very nice, still a very sturdy and straight racket here. So yeah, you YouTubers, you're looking at it right now. And A.G. Spalding actually was founded in 1876 by Albert Goodwill Spalding from actually 9/2 of 1849, and then he lived all the way to 1915. And passed away in September of 1915. But he started out with his brother in Chicago with the sporting goods store of Spalding with his brother Walter, actually, and started the sporting goods store in Chicago. But they had been and Albert was actually a pitcher and manager for a baseball team. But they did have a manufacturing company in Chicopee, Massachusetts, which actually made baseball uniforms. So, and you podcasters out there, if you want to take a look at the racket here and go to the YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk, and take a look at it too, if you want to take a look at it. But they did the baseball uniforms too back in the day. But with that, Spalding actually started importing tennis rackets back in 1878 there, and becoming one of the first American lawn tennis dealers, actually. And later they patented their own racket, and it looks similar to the rackets that they have now, but they patented their own racket in 1905, actually. And then Spalding was the only global marketing with their global marketing efforts, making the similar rackets for not only the U.S. and Europe back then too. But and how they have with who they sponsor on the rackets too. Here is sponsored by Dennis Ralston, actually. And Dennis Ralston was an American tennis player. And he actually and had a career that spanned from the 60s and 70s back in the day when I really actually grew up playing tennis. And he was actually in the pros back then too. Started pro. He turned pro actually in 67, but was an amateur from 58 to 67, and then went up into being the pro that he was. But he had a lot of, he had 41 titles in there. He had actually a record 576 and 251, which was 69.6% of winning. So that's pretty good winning percentage for somebody back then. And, with that, and he was actually then coached in growing up and being coached by Pancho Gonzalez. So that's a good coach right there, that coached a lot of pros back in the day. But that's the racket of the week. And so I hope you do like that. And very good, still very sturdy, straight racket there. And, it's manufactured by A.G. Spalding, Brothers of Belgium, kind of actually where they were making the rackets or importing them from back in the day. So that's kind of the racket of the week for you. I hope you learned a little something with the racket of the week.
Thanks, Brian. Looking back, thinking back, I remember seeing the Spalding rackets when I was a kid, and I think my grandfather had some of those, so it was it brings back those memories.
Oh, doesn't it though? I mean, that's why I do the collection. I have about 250 rackets that I have that I collect. And as you watch when it comes and when it hits, you'll be able to see some of the background of what I have in my racket collection. Oldest racket I have is March 8th, 1908. So, but if I hadn't gotten it, it would have been in a trash someplace. So I'm glad I got it. So
do you sometimes go out and hit with the rackets?
I actually have. A couple of them I've hit with. I went out and hit with the old Stan Smith racket, and then I have the Velas, the old head Velas racket, which is a hammer in itself, but still, you hit it right, it has some power to it too.
Right.
I have a friend of mine that I go out and hit with that he plays with the Rossignol racket, and some of those back in the day were really fancy rackets back then. They were up in the hundreds for that era, and that was for some rich people back then to buy a racket, the Rossignol racket. But I've hit with him with his, all he hits with and just keeps his game going is he hits only with the old wood rackets, which is really fun. I've gone out and hit with him with a few, so it's been fun to do that too.
Right. Yeah. Once you like a certain equipment, sometimes it's hard to change. The current rackets I'm using are like 10 years old, but I just like it so much that I don't see any reason to change.
Oh gosh, no. And with that, I've had even the collection I have is the T1000 rackets, which I have all that collection. Didn't even realize until later that they actually had, people kind of think of the T3000, but they actually have the TX3000, which was the first venue into the teardrop head on those rackets. But they went back to the 3000, went to the round head until the last series of it was the TX6000. And that was then venue into the teardrop head with those rackets. So that's an interesting kind of story in itself too. So, and over the years, I've gotten, with the exhibitions that have come through Minneapolis, I have Connor's autograph. I have John and Patrick McEnroe's autograph. Then also Jim Courier actually was an exhibition with Agassi back in the day. So I have on AT2000 racket cover all those Monica Seles, Mary Jo Fernandez. I have those autographs on the T2000 cover. So that's what I have. Kind of one of my possessions that I have that I kind of favor and I like being able to have those autographs on that racket cover. And then just being able to be able to get out there and do that in the day that I was. So it has been a fun. It's been such a fun, enjoyable sport for me, and as much as it's been for you too. Both of us, just kind of the way it is. I hope. Where do you usually play out of? Where do you teach out of anyway? Because I might have to come and say hey to you just to say hi.
Sure. So we run a program called Tennis City,
Mm-hmm.
and we do a lot of youth beginner tennis through different cities, including Blaine, New Brighton in the North Metro, and also in the South Metro in Edina and Bloomington.
Okay.
So we do youth beginner tennis through the parks and rec in schools.
Okay.
And through that, we get a lot of children involved in tennis. And then once they're into beginner tennis and they develop a joy for the game and desire to play at higher levels, then they progress into our intermediate level programs and high performance programs, which we try to offer all year. And in the winter, we run programs at the Baseline Tennis Center.
Okay, Baseline.
University of Minnesota.
Okay, yep, Baseline. Okay, cool. I've been there. The nice courts though too over at Baseline. So yeah, I played there a few times and everything, but. Back then, and then, like you were saying, even with playing the college tennis too, I had the golden opportunity whenever I was back in Oklahoma last year, year ago, year and a half ago. I had the opportunity to go there, and then I was able to see kind of the college men's tournament that they were having at the University of Tulsa tennis. And what a facility that is. But that was such a joy to be able to see all these college players and just going, oh my gosh, if I had half of their power, I would be so much better. So that was such an experience to be able to see too. And then plus I went to Oklahoma again and I got to see the women's regional final tennis with all the women on a day at Oklahoma State University facility, which was a wonderful facility too. So having that opportunity to see all those college players, just what a joy to watch. And I was there for like all day. It just seemed like I was there for a couple hours, but I was there for like 8 hours straight watching that tennis.
Right. Yeah. The Oklahoma schools have really, have solid tennis programs, great facilities, all of them. University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Tulsa. And actually, my roommate from college, Nate Feldman, was coaching for a while at Oklahoma State. So,
cool.
But I remember going to Tulsa and playing a professional event there, and sort of traveling around the South and Midwest.
Sure.
And so one gets to see all of the infrastructure, and it's really amazing. And the collegiate infrastructure here for sports is top notch, and I think sometimes not as understood outside the U.S. when international players are looking at college tennis. I'm not sure they quite understand the scale and scope of the infrastructure, facilities, and opportunity here. But I continue to think that after junior tennis, college tennis is a great route for a couple of years to continue to develop your game and then test yourself against the best players in the world. And if you're doing well at the Division I level and amongst the top in the country, I think that's a good indication that you have an opportunity with professional tennis.
Oh, absolutely, you do. So your professional part in Tulsa, was it happen to be the Bank of Oklahoma tennis tournament, or was it just kind of exhibition stuff that you went through Tulsa?
I'm not sure. I think it was an ATP Challenger.
Oh, Challenger. Okay. Yeah. So at probably Tulsa University at the time too.
Right.
Yeah. Which is really a good facility too. But now, when I grew up, I was on the high school courts. But now all those courts, when I went back, they're all in disarray, which was all sad to me to see. But they've also had now such a facility over the years, even from the early 70s. They call La Fortune Tennis Center, which is really kind of a main hub for everybody in Tulsa now, which they used to back in the 70s held the Tulsa Tribune, Tulsa World Tennis Tournament through the summer. That draw alone was over 1,000 or more people, and they had to use all the outlying courts and parks courts in order to get those draws going and finished on time in that week that they had that tournament. So that was an amazing tournaments back in the day. 1,000 or more people that were joined to go and play in those tournaments in Tulsa and at La Fortune. And La Fortune now has just grown so exponentially, which is so wonderful, having their teachers there, and then also the facility that it is now, which is really amazing to see. Now they have 3 indoor courts. They're going to be making 3 more indoor courts and going to add some more courts off towards where the golf course is, but still using land that's not on the golf course. So good for them, and building all the time. And just that's kind of the main hub now for Tulsa, which is La Fortune Tennis Center, which is really a good tennis center now too. With people that come into Tulsa, be sure and do that. But now, are you familiar with Randy Ronning or anything within the tennis facility or tennis people that anybody knows? Because I just got to say that he does run a tennis tournament each year at the end of July, last weekend in July, in Elk River, and they've been running it for 50. It'll be the 53rd or 54th year that they had the summer tournament in Elk River this year, in the end last weekend in July, and then they have a fall tournament in the middle of September. Very good tournament to get into. They have the men's open, men's A. So if you have any other kids that you know that are kind of in the A level, the high school, and hitting and playing, good tournament to get into here in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep it in mind. And, we are working with more players, high school players, intermediate level, more advanced, trying to really develop that program.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's nice to know that there are tournaments, and of course players are always looking for opportunities to play.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And it's a great tournament. You just look it up under Elk River Tennis, and then it's in the internet. They have the sign up, for the dates of the tournament and everything. Great tournament to be in. I've been playing it for like 20 plus years, 25 years or so. So I always get in there, still play singles on Saturday and doubles on Sunday if I find a doubles partner, though. That way, but always fun to do. But yeah, it's such a joy to be able to talk and have this tennis knowledge from you, Harsh. And I so appreciate you joining me on my Tennis Volley Talk today, and giving me such an insight, which was such a fun thing to understand. And if you happen to have any other names you can float my way, and you can text me or whatever, let me know, because those would be well worth trying to do interviews with too. The grassroots of tennis is kind of where my podcast has kind of followed this, but yet in hopes to one day get a tennis pro on the phone with me to interview them. Who knows? That's kind of a dream, but it might happen someday, hopefully. So with that,
definitely. Thank you, Brian, for having me, and it was fun talking to you and learning about the history of tennis and your experiences as well. And thanks for growing the game and all your efforts. And look forward to crossing paths here in Minnesota.
Oh, I do too. I look forward to coming out and seeing you and saying hi to you and everything. And thank you so much again, Harsh, for being on my tennis podcast today.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep playing and enjoying the sport.
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And there you have it. What a wonderful interview that was. to be able to get the insight of what he does, and plus the teaching that he does with tennis now, and having that program that he does and teaches and runs, and basically too with what he's learned over the years of doing that, to have the coaches that he has that runs the program, that then teaches the way he wants to show people and how to get the basic of the game and everything. What a wonderful person. What a wonderful interview to be able to get those insights as far as him with his insights and his tennis experience over the years. So everybody, you YouTubers, like, subscribe, and comment, and you podcasters, if you want to take a look at the racket of the week, be sure and do that, and like, subscribe, and comment. So everybody, I know it's getting really nice out there now, and everybody get out there and hit that ball, and I will then talk to you next week. Everybody have a good week. Thank you very much.